Look at that. It's Thursday. It's even Thursday afternoon. And we thought we might just get together, just get a few minor figures together for the Nerd Log. Thanks so much for coming out, everybody. To all our viewers on YouTube, it's not Thursday afternoon. It's probably some other time, but thanks for coming out nonetheless. So we come out every Thursday. We try to talk about updates and changes to New Relic. And today we're going to talk about some really cool stuff. We're going to talk about network observability. With me as always, and I have the view up so I know which direction. Up here to the top right is my co-host Daniel. Daniel, say hi to the people.
Hi, people. I'm super excited for today's Nerd Block. We're going to be talking to some minor figures in New Relic today. Just not talking about anything important. Just kidding. It's going to be such a special episode of the Nerd Log with our CEO and another special guest, and I'm super excited.
It's going to be a fun one. After this, we're going to have the Pixie team on. But for now, Avi, say hi to the people. You don't work for New Relic. You work for Kentik, which is way cooler. So say hi to the people.
I don't know about cooler. Everybody's nerd is cool. So hi, I'm Avi. I am a non-recovering network data and business nerd. A long time ago, I studied computer sciencey things and started the first ISP in Philadelphia and grew up around the internet. And started a company called Kentik that's a leader in network observability, but even more interestingly, have done some great partnership work, we think, with New Relic, and have some great joint customers and lots of happy nerd stuff we're doing together. So
yeah, I saw you on the keynote at FutureStack, and I did not think that we would actually get to have you on the Nerd Log, which I absolutely love. And hey, how about we say hi to our CEO, Bill Staples is here today. Hey, Bill, say hi to the people.
Hey, people. Thank you for having me. I think as the newly minted CEO, this is my first public appearance with that title. So
okay.
Official last week. It's great to be here. Longtime engineer and data nerd. I guess I've only been at New Relic as an employee, although I've always respected and loved the company since its foundation. But I've only been here about 18 months, and now I get the really humbling opportunity to serve as CEO. So really excited by it, and super excited by the partnership with Avi and the Kentik team, because I think we're going to do something really special for engineers everywhere. Yeah,
no, it's a fun one, and I want to give a minute for people to log in, but we actually have a pretty good crowd. So actually, I say let's just dive right into it. We got plenty of viewers on already. So, one of the things that you sort of passed me in the show notes, which I really like thinking about is, and just to start right with it, is that when we talk about failures, and neither New Relic nor Kentik is 100% about failures or things not working exactly right, but failures is a good place to start, right? When we talk about failures, they tend to have kind of a failure that fits into one of three categories, right? We have infrastructure, applications, and the network. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, I think applications is the one that we're all kind of familiar with, right? We get woken up, we're like, oh, we must have released some code that didn't work correctly. And that's the first thing that we run around and try to fix.
Yeah, is that a question for me?
Oh yeah, so Bill, talk about an infrastructure failure.
Infrastructure failure. Yeah, they suck, don't they? The infra guys always get the blame because it must be a data center hardware issue, or if you're public cloud running on the public cloud, is that public cloud provider that just cannot keep their systems up and running.
We have people in the middle. So as networking in the cloud, usually it's the cloud native, right? You use the AWS constructs and gateways and things. Sometimes people put their virtual router or switch on, and then if you're paging, or then that infrastructure side, which is like, there's this endless debate of, is swap space good or is swap space harmful, right? Yeah. And then something happens, or the I don't know if you say OOM or the killer comes along and kills your routing thing. All of a sudden now, like, infrastructure and network can be related. And again, is it a network problem? Is it an app problem? Is it the infrastructure? It can be hard to tell nowadays.
I mean, for me, like, infrastructure problems are what I love, because since I mainly write code, when I see that's an infrastructure problem, I can go back to sleep, right? Or the real thing is to be on public cloud and to see, like, be looking like on your phone, the like notification synopsis, and see that someone's linking to like the AWS status board. I'm like, oh, good. Oh,
that was how Akamai recruited me to run the network group. They're like, the network, the Akamai won't go down because of the network. It'll be our load balancers, so the network people can sleep at night. So I was like,
Yeah.
that sounds good.
What I think is underlying all of this, though, is increasingly it's software, whether you're talking about infrastructure, network, or applications. Most of the time nowadays, it's all software, right? And
yeah, we're not talking about a physical switch failure usually, right? We're talking about the fact
hardware
that
with a firmware that might get updated once a year. You're talking about software that's updated continuously at all layers.
Yeah.
And even at the network layer, like it used to be in the old days, things were working or rebooting, right? You know, the watchdog. And then there became this state introduced called confused, you know, and so it's like working, it's usually confused. And then you just have, then it's, you need the telemetry, you need the ability to debug because everything gets confused in different ways and at different times. So, I'm
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so I'm pretty new to the observability game. So I was wondering, Avi, if you could tell us a little bit about what Kentik does in the space of network observability.
Sure. So about 7 years ago when we started the company, the world was grim and grayscale and lots of appliances that copied packets and did one thing. And they saw your data center, they saw your WAN, and they didn't see the internet or cloud much at all. And when we started Kentik, we were asked by a lot of customers, help me make sense of modern network infrastructure. So that could be routers and switches, or it could be the internet. And even before Kubernetes, people were doing their own provisioning, or these things called IPAM in enterprise, right? IP address management, and what applications am I running where? And these appliances, they didn't really understand that. So we're a SaaS, like New Relic. In fact, we've often, and we're always honored when people say, oh, it's like New Relic for network. It's like, yes. So except now we're doing New Relic network with New Relic, which is even more awesome. And so at SaaS, our engineers are typically infrastructure-y, networky, folks, and we see the internet. We look at performance from a testing perspective. We see all the traffic, and we try to map that down. So, like, you may look at traces and try to debug what's wrong in an application, or the garbage collector came along, or whatever. We're looking at network topology maps and this network over here, or these kinds of elements. And what we've always wanted to do is peer up, right? So that we're not going to do debugging of all the app stuff, but we want to know what's affected. And the parallel, which is, give visibility up, to the app providers. So we have about 300 customers, smaller than New Relic. We're not a public company. But similarly, we have a data platform and operate as SaaS.
I love that. Yeah. Actually, so my story, which I end up somehow telling every time I do the show, is I've been back at New Relic for about 1.5 years, but I actually got my start way back in the day in tech as a New Relic support person. And so back then, as I sort of, climbed the ladder and got to be in more and more like pre-sales calls or sales architecting calls, or sort of kind of highlight, like just sort of greenfield, what would we like to see added to New Relic? The sense that when we had like incident response, and it turns out to be, what's the classic is like, it turns out to be DNS again for the millionth time, right? Or whatever other networking issue.
DNS.
Right? That there is that is something that someone comes and finds outside of New Relic, right? And brings into the Slack channel, or back in the days it was Hip Chat at the time. That's how I'll date myself that badly. That they would come and bring that back into the conversation. So, Bill, had you heard that as well as like, is this request to add in some kind of network observability?
Totally. Yeah, that's a great segue to why we love Kentik and we're doing this partnership. For many years, New Relic's been famous for application, observability. We invented the APM category. Tons of developers have used New Relic for many years. And for the last several years, we've extended that to include infrastructure monitoring, logging, and other things to go down the stack, if you will, to give engineers working, whether they're running their applications in public cloud or their own data centers in private cloud, that view into the infrastructure underneath. But if you look at, engineering teams, no matter the size of the company, really, anywhere, there tend to be a special group, oftentimes in the infrastructure team and sometimes not, that focus just on the network. It's such an essential part. Like, you cannot obviously take requests into your application or serve them back to customers without a network. And there's a specialization of knowledge that exists among these network engineers to really understand the complexity of network peering and network connectivity to and from the internet. And those engineers also need observability, and the infrastructure and the application teams who get woken up in the middle of the night often might suspect, hey, maybe it's a network issue under both of us that's causing the issue. And so unfortunately, that small team of expert ninja network engineers often get pulled into almost every application or infrastructure failure to help understand, hey, is it the network or is it actually higher up the stack?
Yeah, and this is really, I mean, this is a totally relatable thing for myself, having worked, it sounds unrelated when I say I worked for a while in front end, right? So it's like, what's the connection? The connection is that we were both these teams who often got woken up basically for every single incident. And after 5, 10, 15 minutes, we're like, yeah, we had absolutely nothing to do with this. You know, our code is running perfectly, or our system is running perfectly, back to sleep. And it wasn't just, I mean, you know, the pings are annoying, but, you know, thankfully, right? Like I would bill for the whole thing because I was a contractor at the time. But, you know, then the actual people who had caused the problem didn't know that, right? And so they're waiting to hear back from us. And so obviously it's going to increase your mean time to resolution, right? Because you're waiting around, you're sort of, you know, to be honest, right? Maybe you're crossing your fingers like, oh, I'll have the network people go look and, you know, maybe they caused the problem. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to roll back my code. So that, you know, those two sides are really big. And I think the former is a big one now because frankly, the market for labor and for this kind of expertise is very, very hot. So if you're saying, hey, I'm going to wake you up 2-3 times a week, you know, come and build this crazy Kubernetes cluster. You're one of 100 people in the country who can do it, but also I'm gonna wake you up 2-3 times a week to every time say, "That really wasn't us," right? And so that is another piece that, you know, to stay competitive, it's really critical to do at least that separation of like, what layer is this on?
Exactly. I mean, not only is it super inefficient, but it's super annoying and a huge amount of toil on a specialty set of engineers that have a lot of choice in terms of where they could serve. And so every company needs to have insight into, is it the application that's having challenges, the infrastructure, or the network? And you need that insight in one place, right? If you're looking in separate tools and separate teams, you're still having to wake them up. They still have to understand, you know, their observability stack and what the data is telling them, and then talk to each other in order to get that mean time to resolution down.
And for us, you know, the observability is a really key part because we've looked at a lot of partners, but if they can't take the network data in their platform, because network data tends to have a lot of special characteristics, then all you can answer is questions that you knew in advance. Well, I don't know what percentage of outages has ever been a question. I mean, yeah, you do a postmortem and then that's monitoring and whatever. But you know, for us, it's really important, you know, if we're working with customers to have those insights in New Relic, that to be able to do arbitrary questions, which you guys were pretty uniquely in the space able to do. So that was a really big attraction for us.
Yeah,
I'll give you one random thought.
Go on.
Our champion at IBM, first he said, well, when he's talking to Mark Fleming, he says, network, without the network, there is no cloud. The Zen thought I will leave you with is network is the water of the clouds. It's the connective tissue. So
that is an awesome. I love that, and I love the thank you for describing your interest in New Relic, because it's something pretty special that we feel we have here at New Relic, which is this underlying telemetry data platform that can really ingest, store, and provide queries and answers to questions, whether it's your network, your log data, your infrastructure data and metrics, traces, spans. Like, we support all of the telemetry data types, all in a single place with a single API and query.
Well, you had just showed up, so it's not you I was doubting. But when I saw the announcement, you know, last year, I was like, yeah, this will be awesome. I will break it again. I've broken every, and I was just like, you know, we took some, you know, used the CSDK, put some data in. It was like, ooh, it's working. And even more than that, like if you've ever used the thing that starts with a G, you know, as a platform, you know, for visibility, I was like, wait, I'm auto typing and I have like 400,000 like series and it's completing them. And wait, there's like 3 million IP addresses and it's auto completing, because a lot of front ends, just if they have the cardinality, you can't even, there's like one thing to have the data, it's the other thing to be able to query it.
Yeah.
And not just by API. I was like, wow, this is pretty hot.
Yeah,
you know?
that's the part that always just feels so superpowered to me, especially because, well, here's my Zen thought about it. As I've seen New Relic evolve, we're still doing this thing where we're offering really deep insight into application code. But the thing that is really growing, especially as you see microservices grow, is you see, hey, we need to know not just what's happening inside this node. It's the abstract term node, not Node.js.
Right.
We need to see this network, right? We need to be able to see all of these nodes together. And the thing that's growing on like the serverless side and the public cloud side is, hey, we'll be able to show you the code on this Lambda, AWS Lambda, and how it's affecting this serverless function over here, and how it's affecting this serverless function, the code on all three of those points. But what this hopefully introduces is, what about the connection between those nodes?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing is like we not only ingest, all the data from your applications and services, from your hosts and nodes and containers, but now you'll be able to see in New Relic One your switches, your routers, your load balancers, all of your network infrastructure as entities related and connected to all of your infrastructure and services above. And it really gets back to that underlying customer problem we started with, which is you get woken up in the middle of the night. You don't want to wake up everybody, right? You want mean time to innocence is another way we talk about this. Like, how can we ensure we are not waking up that specialty infra or network team if it really is an application issue, by having all of that data all in one place, instantly queryable, and understand the relationships and health of those entities across the entire stack.
Yeah, it was only in prep for this show that I saw mean time to innocence, but I love it because it really is the thing. It's like, should I be going out and seeking data? Should I be investigating, how the front
end network people get woken up a lot, so they've used that.
Yeah.
They've used that for a while. But I just want to come back to it because like the autocomplete of there's a lot of that sometimes people do that's magic that like, it's like we appreciate as data nerds, but like, the goal is that users don't see it. But the entities and being able to tie that together is also a really key thing, I think, for you all for partnership. And it was really important for us because, when you come from an appliance world, they're like, I have my thing, and this is my world, this is the outside. But, this is really a lot of hard work. You should have Nick and team on and talk about that at some point. It's a lot of hard work about what has to get done to do that. And I'll just call out, to Zach, who did a lot of that. Like, wait, you just like git commit and then these entities come into existence in the platform. That's awesome. And so, it's a cool function of New Relic platform that,
the entity concept is a really strong one where we're just sort of saying, hey, this could be anything that is emitting some kind of metric. So a question might be, for all the requests we're getting, how many new like developer credentials are being used, or how frequently are the developer credentials being used? So even like credentials can be an entity.
And as Bill was saying, jump from thing to thing, right? So it's like, okay, well, I see this thing here. Let's look at the rest of the VPC, or let's look at the rest of, the client network or something like that. And to say like, oh, okay, well, it's all the same across that. That's probably not the problem, And of course you can see that visually too. Right.
So who are you expecting is going to be using? This is a question for Bill and Avi. Who are the people among New Relic users who like need to go ahead and check this out in the next few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think any New Relic One engineer, whether you're in IT ops, you're SRE, you're an application developer, who typically you don't have access to network data because it's probably in a different tool and different data store. Now you'll be able to have access to that data and again see it correlated and connected to your infra and applications. That's a huge benefit, and it goes to that mean time to innocence. Keep the networking team out of it if they don't need to be in it. But also, it's a new tool for the network team to come in as needed and look at like, hey, show those application infrastructure guys the network's healthy. The problem's really up the stack.
I mean, it would be the dream, right, to be a network engineer, to be woken up by something and be able to say, hey, not only do I think this is happening in the Rails app, not within our system, but in fact, it's this method, right? Look at this. It just quintupled in how long it takes every single time, right? So I always say, if your team's being touched by it, go just take a little time with New Relic as a whole, because you can really go pretty deep into someone else's stuff. And it's not, it's a very kind thing to be saying, hey, look at this. This is the type of transaction that's taking so long.
So if I wanted to get started, sorry.
No, shoot. Go ahead, Daniel. You haven't said. I've been talking over you for 10 minutes. Go on.
Yeah. So if I want to get started using Kentik in my existing New Relic one instance, what are kind of like the steps I need to do to get network data flowing into New Relic?
Well, so right now there's an early access program that people can register for, but it's basically there's an agent, K-Translate, and that's going to be all bundled up in your agent framework, and with a documentation page, and it can do a number of different things. It can do the traditional router and switch SNMP. It can do AWS. Soon it'll do the performance testing. So you can wake up the network person and show her exactly the path where there's a problem, which will go well with your synthetics. And what you do, really, it's another pretty amazing thing, showing people API performances across your customers and stuff like that. And so right now you can register, for interest, and then you'll be able to install the agent and go. It's just going to magically work. There'll be some dashboards.
That's awesome.
Pretty neat. Now, is it we're launching with on-prem only, or are we doing AWS monitoring?
AWS.
As well?
Yeah, no, Bill was. So it's always awesome when you see an announcement and the gal or guy who's your executive champion is then going to be the CEO. It's like that's pretty cool. It probably means this partnership will go okay. But Bill was very clear early on. There's a lot of interest. There's a company you may have heard of called SolarWinds that does Windows software that's had some issues, and so but that's all on-prem. But my understanding from you is AWS is huge, and then we'll do the other clouds as well. So
yeah. And so we're not going to dive too far in the weeds because we got a lot of sort of decision makers and team leads here who maybe don't really care super much how exactly it's implemented, but there must be some kind of Kentik observer here that's sending the data. Is that like an agent that grabs network data?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's called K-Translate. We've open sourced it, and then we're bringing other of our agents that do some of these other things into that framework too. And so what we did was we made it send directly to New Relic, and so it can do filtering and rollups and be as metrics, or we call it, or more fat metrics. So you want to limit, you want to be careful about how much you put in that way, and it can do events if you want, everything. Then you can do that too. It's really the users gets to say how they want it, but can feed the dashboards and do things like that. And so there'll be more of those agents that do different things, including one that does performance testing and things like that, but it goes directly to. Now, if there's joint customers, that was how we started. We have the ability to fire hose it over, and that's just push button, but there's no requirement that you be a Kentik customer for this. So
yeah, I have to give a shout out to Avi here as well. Many reasons we obviously love this partnership, but first, as you can tell, Avi is a true geek, nerd at heart, and that cares deeply about engineers, just like all of us here at New Relic. And second, as he just mentioned, totally embracing open source and taking the open approach that New Relic has as well, open sourcing their own proprietary agents here to make that available to the community, and wiring it up directly into the New Relic telemetry data platform, to make that connection direct, open, transparent. Huge benefit to the community in doing that, and I think a huge benefit to both of our companies as a result of it. That data, as he just described, it flows into New Relic's telemetry data platform just like it would as if it was Prometheus data, log data, APM metric data from New Relic agents or open telemetry agents that are also getting matured. So just like any other data source, it comes in at the same price to our customers, 25 cents a gigabyte. I should mention that, that's one of the incredible things as well.
Yeah.
We talked about the scale of New Relic's underlying data platform. It can return results in microseconds plus billions of records. But to do it at 25 cents a gigabyte, I mean, give me a break. No one in the category can match that kind of price value equation.
Yeah, not without saying, hey, every 50 queries costs you another $12, right? The fact that you can put that in, that's not just the storage, that's being able to query it later. And try it out if you want to see how amazing that experience is.
Ingest, story, and compute, all 25 cents a gigabyte. It is incredible.
Really, really nice. Yeah. And I really, I think, the experience of sending in kind of not our agent's data, I really want people to experience that because it is pretty astounding, right? To be able to send in open telemetry data or Kentik data or any other kind of open source for data and see just how well it comes through is really pretty amazing. Because sure, you can send us data, and then if you hack our API, you can query it back out again. Well, that's not really the whole piece, right? And I know for Pixie, who'll be on next, we're going to show some really cool ways that we display data from a whole variety of sources in a really fluent way. There's this concept from the Open Telemetry project, which is distributed tracing, and we've just lost video feeds going to be a little funny for a second. It looks like Avi's having some network stability issues. No worries. Bill's in two places. Bill's face is split down the middle. We'll get there. I'm sure producer Mia is on the case. They're gonna get us all wired up. But yeah, I really encourage people to check that piece out because being able to just write some very limited queries and be able to get really full visualizations is so nice, and see that in those nice presentation dashboards to give people a quick shot of how we're performing. So I mean, Bill, I think that's about covers it. Do you have other stuff you want to tell the people about trying out? We have links in the chat, and there'll be links down below if you're watching this on YouTube for how to sign up for the beta program. I really do encourage people to check out custom dashboards and sending custom events. And we're going to link to a few other videos on our open telemetry connections and other ways to send data from open agents, like our own agents are open sourced. But yeah, Bill, do you have other stuff you wanted to make sure we cover?
Maybe two final thoughts. I'm really sorry, Avi.
No. Oh, yeah.
I'm
sorry, Avi. We'll have you on soon again because Avi's a cool guy. He's got a lot of cool stuff to say. We didn't even see his Commodore 64 on the stream.
Totally. He is so much fun to work with, and Kentik's such a great partner. We're excited. I guess you're linking to the early access program, so encourage anyone who wants to be an early adopter to check it out. It's going to be coming to general availability in the not too distant future. We're not talking many weeks away, but jump in if you want to get early access. And it's a perfect segue actually to the next topic of Pixie, because today we announced Pixie GA integration with New Relic One.
Yeah.
I'm excited you're going to have that topic next, and good luck. It's another awesome solution from New Relic.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, check out the next video on the playlist because the Pixie stuff is really neat, and it really shows the ability to put all this data from all these different sources as real first-class citizens as to what we're showing in our interface really makes a more powerful experience for users because they're not clicking around and trying to coordinate data from 12 different dashboards. It's a single browser tab to get all that view. Well, Bill, thank you so much for coming on. I think we're going to go to the Be Right Back screen. But yeah, check out the Nerd Log on Thursdays, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out.
Thanks for having me. See you.
Bye, everyone.